didn't take long after I started researching astrology seriously, beyond just talking about star signs, did I realize astrology is much more than a system of symbolic geometry. That's what you discover when you decide to put down the collective prejudices against what isn't colloquially understood and decide to actually investigate for yourself. You discover a whole set of languages, in fact, with different dialects that tell the story of creation, the story of you, through archetypes, through heroes. This is why we are so drawn collectively to superheroes, whether it's 1 through 12, Aries through Pisces, Ashwini through Revati, or any other offset starting point. Astrology is simply a geometric model that communicates both the structure and the mythology of creation, aka the structure and mythology of self. In other words, it tells the story of creation as the story of self. This is also why astrology is so easy to remember, because humanity remembers in story structure. What I started to understand early on in my studies about 9 years ago is that each one of these archetypes, each one of these 12 heroes, was trying to develop a relationship with me. I imagine this is similar to what Christians say about Jesus wanting a relationship with them. But what felt very clearly and immediately different is these archetypes could not be separated from me. That was somehow the first and most obvious thing about them. Almost like that's what they all collectively needed to establish first with me. That they are all best friends and they are absolutely inseparable from me. They are not separate heroes, but the 12 heroes that are stitched together in my being as my being. The 12 reflections of Source. They jokingly refer to me as the Great Offering. The diehards, Scorpio and Sag, playfully call me Ophiuchus. But that's a story for another time. I remember this distinct moment during my early studies, soon after I realized this was all about communing with these friends, meditating on them, soaking in their energy, learning from them. I had an experience I will never forget. During the early years, as I was meditating with each archetype, each sign, I recognized Sagittarius energy was also the energy I was the least familiar with. It was the most foreign to me. I genuinely knew nothing about it at the time. Even I would learn things about it and nothing was really clicking. I later discovered I actually have the South Node in Gemini and in turn the North Node in Sag. That's really what the North Node represents, what's foreign to your psyche. I remember distinctly sitting in my bed in a cross-legged position and connecting with Sagittarius energy as relaxed and one-pointedly as I could. After not too long, a clear image of Jupiter popped in my head. I kind of freaked out and immediately grabbed my phone to check, and lo and behold, Jupiter rules Sagittarius. I was really never the same after this. I just discovered that I had direct access to information unbeknownst to me that I could verify. There's so much I knew that I had no idea that I knew. That is actually the true definition of Gnosticism, not knowing how much you know. Well, agnosticism is knowing how much you don't know. So agnosticism is like the bottom-up approach. Gnosticism is like the top-down approach. After that experience of seeing Jupiter pop in my head, I started to dive deep into the archetypes that were disproportionately composed in my chart. Learning about my chart was one of the most fun and meaningful experiences in my life. It was like watching your favorite movie of all time for the first time. In a sense, I was reunited with the prenatal me designing my life. One thing that's important to mention when you were discussing the North and South Node is that just because you're moving towards your North Node and therefore moving away from your South Node, it doesn't mean that your South Node, or Gemini in my case, is no longer valuable. Don't throw the baby out with the bathwater. My studies of astrology was pretty equally balanced, learning technical information online, Gemini, my South Node, and communicating with the archetypes directly through contemplation and meditation, Sagittarius. So everyone has their own relationships with the archetypes. They are archetypes of self. They are constituents of self. And we all have our own relationships with them because we all have the same name. We all call ourselves I. These friends, these heroes, these archetypes are models that we never had. This is the reason religion exists on the planet. Humanity is desperate for a role model to have a relationship with. These 12 friends have been my role models. They have taught me more about the world than the world could, and the world has probably taught me more about them than they could too. The best astrologer understands that astrology is just a permission slip. It's simply the writing on the walls your unconscious self projects to finally give yourself permission to be who you are. The journey of self-discovery is as follows. Gather information to compare. Create proportion and measure it. Greater ascent requires descent. Deeper descent guarantees higher ascent. So fly free, shine your light, enjoy yourself, love yourself, make contact, be not afraid, own your truth, and most importantly, remember who you are.